Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round number 4 of the SRS GT3 Series, Tier number 1, live at the Autodrome de Carlos Pache, also known as the Autodrome de Interlagos circuit, home of the F1 Brazilian Grand Prix. I'm your host and commentator for today's Tier 1 race, S_RDZ, and we're looking forward to another exciting round of top-tier GT3 action for the SRS GT3 Series. And of course, a little down on numbers, of course, but in my past experience of commentary, that has not stopped the quality of racing that we are yet to see here for our SRS GT3 series. And so now, live now with the number 66 of SDM Viper, of course, in the 66 Savage Racing a Mercedes AMG GT3. Of course, didn't have the best of luck in the wet weather 90 minutes of Spa-Francorchamps, but he's hoping for another better race here today at Interlagos. And at the moment, he is currently top of the leaderboards with that 130.742. And he's looking mighty quick at the moment on track. Then we go down to SMM Palmer, who's only a tenth and a little bit more, just behind the number 66 in the 24. And of course, he got third at the last race at Interlagos. Of course, he's been up a little bit in the top half of the field, but unfortunately not able to pull out a win as of late, so hopefully he can get that 24 onto victory lane sooner rather than later. Then we got the number 7, I apologize, of James out of the JM Racing Porsche 911 GT3 RSR. And he's finally had some good luck at Spa last time out, getting that top 5 finish in 5th place at Spa. And he was really well happy about that. Let's just hope that that car can suit the Interlagos circuit. Of course, these cars, Porsche's GTE program, once part of the WEC, that series came here to Interlagos last in 2014, and I'm pretty sure they got a win in that. I know they got a win in the LMP1 class for the final round of that season, but I'm not entirely sure about their GTE Pro and GTE AMS CAT programs respectively. So hopefully he can find himself on the same route that these 2017 generation Porsche 911 GT3 RSRs, the 991 platform, can find its way into a top step of the podium, or maybe even one of the steps of the podium today. Then we have the number 95 Audi R8 LMS of Swift, and unfortunately he missed out on the last race, but there's no denying the quick pace that he's shown. His best result so far this season has been a 4th place, just shy of the podium at that race at round number 2 at the Brands Hatch circuit, and hopefully he's looking to carry his momentum going forward today. He's only 30 thousandths off of that 30.742 that Viper has set, so Swift looking mighty quick today with the Audi. It's not a car that's particularly quick on the straights, but can make up a lot of time in the corners, and that's where it shines in Sector 2 compared to these front-engine Mercedes especially. His teammate, Jere, the race winner of round number 3 at the wet 90-minute race at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, of course, just sitting behind the Team Simpact Racing Corvette of T5 Black for a majority of the race. And then near the end of the race, he finally got his nose passed, and then the rest is history. He just went on doing his own thing. He was setting times unlike the rest of the competition had ever seen of a driver, and it's really made Jere a mainstay in the SRS GT3 series. And he's looking to advance higher up the championship order once we get underway with qualifying. And then we got the number 46 of Cabales in the Speed Eagles KRT SE Aston, one of the KRT SE Aston Martins. Of course, running new colors today with I believe the Aston Martin green. That's a nice touch, actually. I didn't quite recognize that, with a lighter turquoise, limeish green kind of color for the Eagles representation. I'm not sure if JK is out of the series. Hopefully that's not the case, but hopefully we do wish to see JK coming back into this race for another league. He does have a win under his belt, so hopefully he can carry that momentum going forward, and hopefully Cabales can do himself a good favor and keep up that energy and effort going forward for round number 4 here today. Then finally we got the number 11 of Splash LTU of Splash, representing the country of Lithuania for the Speed Demon Motorsports crew. Unfortunately not having the best of luck at Spa last time out, but getting that pole position at Brands Hatch in that third place, solidifying himself as a well-class driver within the SRS Motorsports League. And unfortunately, his luck, like I said, at Spa, not paying dividends whatsoever. He did particularly well in the qualifying. I think he qualified 4th. And instead of going forwards, he instead was going a bit backwards. And to kick it all off, had a disconnect near the end of the race to make matters worse. And unfortunately, he'll have to find his way a bit up the field here, as he's well over a second off the pace. So hopefully his racecraft can come in handy. I know he's a good driver when it comes to race pace. So hopefully that race pace, like I said, can really come in clutch here later today. And he will be looking for a mighty, mighty quick time here in qualifying. So I'm not 100% sure and so now we're waiting for qualifying to start. I'll make the message known. We'll take a quick look at the sector times here. Yure and Cabales setting sectors bests in 2 and 3, with Splash getting up the running order just a little bit. And so now Palmer coming to the line. I'm sorry, that's James, as a matter of fact. Palmer, has he improved is the question. He has not, so that's well off the pace. But this isn't qualifying, but this is last minute practice for all these guys to get up and running. Gonna make a message, we are live. And so now we should be good to go for qualifying. The top of the hour has elapsed, and so hopefully we can get qualifying up and running. And like I said, this is where a lot of practice, last minute practice, has to come in handy here. What we're going to do now is, in case the qualifying takes a little bit longer than we expect, we're going to take you on board now with a lap in the number 95 of Swift. This is one of the more quicker drivers that you come to see in the SRS GT3 series. So rounding out the Subia dos Boxes corner, and then the final short left-hander to the finish line along the pit straight, and then going to turn number 1, curve it number 1, hard on the brakes, and it looks like he's just going to make the apex, then go through the Senna S's, then the curve, and then through Curva de Sol for turn number 4 now. Actually, turn number 3, then on the Ruta Aposta straight through to turn number 4 to the Desada do Lago corner, then turn number 5 up to Ferreira. See that long stretch of land, long straightaway, then hard on the brakes, down to drop it a gear or 2 through the La Juana, and then the S's. Drop it all the way down to first gear. That's kind of a risky spot to do with the Audi. Drop it up to second, then through first, through Pinarino, then up to Pico de Pato. Make the short left-hander. These Audis are really, really using that first gear to good effect. Then through Merguilo corner, and then to Juncao for the third or second to last corners. Then once again through Subia dos Boxes for the final drive to the finish line. And there is the 79 of T5 Black, who's just made it in the nick of time. But finishing this lap with Swift isn't going to be an improvement. He hangs left. He knows this lap is good, but is it going to be good enough? No, he lost time. 30.772. And was it even faster than his fastest lap? No, it was just shy of that fast lap. So a very good lap for Swift. But unfortunately, I think it might have come undone right at the end of that lap. A good effort for Swift in that 95. And so now we're waiting for qualifying to just get qualifying underway. And like I said, we are waiting for T5 Black, and I think T5 Black and Ure are going to continue their battle from Spa-Francorchamps. Not going to, of course, speculation is fun while it is, but there it is. There he is, T5 Black for the Team Simpat Racing Crew, just getting the car ready in the nick of time. and we should be getting qualifying ready to go for round number 4. You can see all 8 cars, including T5 Blacks and the 7 others that are waiting ahead of them, ready to get qualifying started. So qualifying now, ready, and now we are green. 10 seconds, 6 seconds, 5 seconds to qualify for round number 4 of the SRS GT3 series. And so now the qualifying session for 10 minutes now around the Autodrome de Interlagos circuit. And look at that, everyone vying for track position on the track. Just look at the amount of cars that are really trying to get out and use the track time to their advantage. Of course, the other guys, some of the fastest guys, Swift, T5 Black, and Yuri amongst those guys, going to sit it back a little bit. Kobala's even included as well. And so 3 Mercedeses all going out at once. And unfortunately, we are missing Tice, but that is because he is on Tier 2 commentary for today in that series as well. While we're getting the outlap going, we're going to take you guys through the championship standings while we got the chance. And so yeah, they are up. So T5 Black still with that second place finish, leading the championship with 88 points, with Palmer's in third. He is now up to 71 points, 17 points, well and truly behind the number 79 of T5 Black. Then you've got Yuri with that 1 missed start at Brands Hatch, but he's up in third place with 48 points. And then Tice and JK making up 44 and 34 for the top 5, and Splash all the way down to 6th place with that disconnect. Really big setback for him with 30 points, so hopefully he can find himself back up in the running order a little bit. So James Head in the number 7 is going to lead them off for the first wave of qualifying. Of course, the outlaps coming to a close, and this is where the actual hot lap action is going to come alive here. And of course, these guys are going to do 1 set of qualifying runs and then go to the pits, get some fresh rubber, and try to better their qualifying runs as a result. And just to give you an idea, all 7 cars have crossed the track, the start-finish line now. Take a look at where Yuri is. He loves this open air, this open space, this open track that he really likes. No one to worry about in front of him or behind him. He's got a lot of room to work with, and he certainly likes it. He's going to hang a little wide and stay as far right to the grandstands as much as he can to set himself up for the hard braking zone for turn number 1. And this is what Yuri likes about this qualifying. Oh, I think the car kind of either understeered or slided a little bit on the fronts, coming through to the through the Senna S's. We'll go turn our attention back to James, and the number 7 is they're going to lead them off. Then you've got the number 66 and the number 11, and the 24 of Viper, Splash, and Palmer following suit as well. You got Swift, T5 Black, and Cabales a little ways back as well. Is there a little bit of argy-bargy going on right about there? I'm not 100% sure about that. Oh no, they definitely got space with each other, so let's see how this does turn out. I think these guys are going to have 1 lap, and then they're going to use their cooldown lap, then pit, they use their out lap, and then go for 1 final flying lap for this qualifying. So qualifying time is about to be set right up now. Hang left. What's it going to be? A 31.2 for James. Is it going to be a 31.3 for Viper? A 31.4 for Splash. 30.69 for Palmer. A 30.9 for Swift. And a T5 Black with a 31.6. A 30.8 for Cabales going up into 2nd place. So that's a good effort for Cabales, who's not had the best season so far, but he definitely needed that. But what's Yuri got in the number 77? He will be the last one to cross the start-finish line, while the others, I assume, are coming in for the cooldown laps. Hang to the left. What's it going to be? It's going to only be 4th. A 31.1, but he's a 10th and a half off his teammate Swift in the 95, who I think had better traction and better slipstream capabilities, unlike his teammate. I did see these guys, the 95 and the 77, both giving a little bit of a tow. So I'm not sure if that's what it's going to take to get these Audis a little bit up. Yuri a little bit up, faster by almost a 1/10 of a second. But these are some fine margins here for the SRS GT3 series. Palmer getting that pole position with a 30.6, a very good lap off the bat. And Swift, I believe, has gotten himself a 2 second penalty. So has Swift cut some corners is the big question. Now, I do believe he will pit this time by, and I imagine a lot of these guys are going to pit. Yep, James in. Viper, I believe, stayed on out. Viper staying out. He knows this is probably a better lap than what he's done. No, not even a better lap. Splash has got himself as a 31.3. So a few guys actually coming in, half the pack, I should say, coming in for their stops. Not a lot of improvements that time by, but Splash and Viper only separated by 0.08 of a second, and just about half a tenth between James Head and Viper for 5th and 6th. And Yuri actually going to come into the pits as well, just after the 5-minute mark. So, I don't know, for the guys that might have stayed out, I think they're going to take a bit of a chance and see how that plays out for strategy. Palmer amongst, oh no, he's actually pit. So he was fairly happy about that lap. Cabales, I believe, did stay out. So this is going to be fairly interesting for the race here. Well, we got guys going to get their out laps and their in laps in. We're going to take a quick look at the pole times. It's Quinter, then it's Doug Barrow, Quinter, and Bartrolhead in the top 4, with Bo Fischer-Dar, BU Tap, Superboy, and Iapez in the top 8. So Doug Barrow did get the pole. Did Hairbrazer even make it in the race is the question. No, he did not. So that's a big chunk of points for Hairbrazer that he will be unfortunately missing out on, as is Mushala. Splash to a 31.3, so he's got up to 6th place, but he's elected to not pit. Cabales, I assume, is going to pit this time by. Is he going to pit is the question. Yes, he will pit, so he will have room, I believe, for 2, maybe even 1 more laps, but we do have guys that are going to be starting their second run of qualifying hot laps. So that 1:30.699 by Palmer is the benchmark time to beat for the Cymax Junior team, and he's a 1/10.5 up. So that benchmark time of us 30.699 might be getting a little bit quicker. Cabales is the man in 2nd place, exiting the pits after electing to get some fresh rubber and try and go as far as he can. Was there a bit of contact between the 79 and the number 46? Not 100% sure about that. But T5 Black all the way down in 8th place. That's not where you usually see T5 Black in terms of position on the track. Actually, going back to last week's interview after the post race at Spa, he said qualifying wasn't his strong suit, but he does a lot of work on the track in terms of grid positions. Now, of course, he is on a purple sector now, entering the final sector. He's going to be looking to get as high up the field as he can. Is he going to hang left is the question. He will, as a matter of fact, swift up into 2nd place. But what about T5 Black? He will jump to pole position. From 8th to 1st, just like that. A 30.5 is all you need to do. And I believe he's going to have room for 2 more laps. Did Palmer even improve is the big question. No, not even an improvement. Oh, just missing out. Yuri up into 4th place. But he will get 1 more lap. He will get 1 more lap. So I think, I don't know, I'll tell you what, this is going to be pretty close for Yuri, because I think a lot of these guys are going to get 2 more laps for this qualifying. I'm going to switch it over to variable for the exciting camera angles at the moment. And so what's T5 Black got in the tank to improve on that 30.5? Of course, the Corvette, very quick around here. And so now what's T5 Black got in the tank for that 79 is the big question. But turn our eyes back up to the front of the field. Who is that coming to the start finish line? It's going to be Splash. And is it going to not be an improvement? It's not an improvement, but he will have 1 more opportunity to get a fast lap. He did not pit, which is an interesting tactic, by the way, I should point out. Viper, of course, going to pit. That's someone going slow amongst the straight. Oh, Yuri, what a big tank slapper that was. Can we get a replay on that? And so was there a big tank slapper for Yuri? Oh, look at how much turning. Oh, wow, what a save that was for Yuri. Holy moly. Just keeping it very, very tight indeed. But he's only 6 thousandths of a second higher than Cabales and only 69 thousandths slower than Swift. But Swift only 55 thousandths off of his junior teammate Palmer. So this will be the final lap. And so who is that leading him off? It will be Splash, who elected not to pit, is the interesting thing to see have happen. And so now the Falcon Motorsports by SDM entry. Of course, unfortunately, they did say they were struggling a little bit on qualifying pace, but hopefully that race pace can turn it around somewhat and balance the field out in some capacity. And so now qualifying coming to a close, a Splash. Oh, and he definitely didn't need that to have happen. Was he on a faster lap? Is the big thing. No, he was not. So unfortunately, I don't think it's going to matter that much. But he's only 10 thousandths higher up than Viper, and I'm not sure if Viper even himself had a faster lap. So coming to the start-finish line, it will be 7th place for Splash. And so what about Viper? He's going to be the next one to come across the start-finish line, and a penalty! And it just costed him at the end of that session.
Really?
Not even an improvement for Swift. No improvement so far. Oh, you can see the frustration right there from Viper. No improvements so far up and down the board. I think we're going to only have Yuri and I believe Cabales. Yep, Yuri and Cabales. And to Yuri's credit, slower. What about Cabales? He's not even improved. So T5 Black will get his first pole position of the season and will lead him off the start for round number 4 in the first tier. And so 8 cars will take the start. T5 Black and Palmer make up the front row with Swift and Yuri, the Audi Cymax crew making up the second row with Cabales, James Head, and then Splash and Viper rounding out the grid. And so now you see the 5 red lights to the right of to the left of the understeer. Start finish gate. Rev up the engines. It is almost go time. When is it going to be go time? Now it's go time. What a good start that was for T5 Black. We'll get him quickly back on for the front straight. Palmer's on the inside of T5 Black. He's had a better start than T5 Black. Was he actually bumped wide is the question. He's a little bit on the AstroTurf, and Palmer gets to the race lead. Swift a little bit on the inside, and it's already Argy-Bargy going through turn number 1. Let's take a look at that race restart. A little bit late on that, but we'll go back a little bit more. And T5 Black trying to get back up the order. And so was there contact from Palmer's end on T5 Black is the big question. No, T5 Black just took it a little bit too deep into that first corner, while Swift and T5 Black still going side by side. For second place, T5 Black on the outside, but taking it a little bit too deep, and Yuri's going to slip in for third place. Not even, and T5 Black is still trying to fight for that position. And Palmer's just letting himself get away from these battles, but these Audis, 2 very experienced drivers in the hands of those Audi RA LMSs, the 5.2 liter V10s, really trying to make something work. And Viper has had a really good start from 8th place, going up into 5th place, nearly taking over half the grid. So the 66 making up some progress, and James Head has not had a good start either, as well as Cabales. Oh, big slide from Cabales out of the left-hander there. And so now once T5 Black got in the tank, he's going to make the move over to the left, and that's going to be easy work for T5 Black. Although Swift going to try and hang on. Is he going to try and force a dive into the inside? Not going to do anything. He's going to close up though. Oh, and Viper's going to go a bit too deep. And that's going to allow Yuri to take back that 5th place, that 4th place. I think Viper was holding on to 4th place for a little bit, but I think he just might have taken it a bit too deep. T5 Black in the middle of the road. Swift now going to try and make the move. Oh, and this is super close. And I think there was a little contact. There definitely was contact that time by. On board now with the on board now. Was there a little bit of contact? Oh, a little latency actually, a little latency lag. So it wasn't nothing intentional, but it's allowed Swift to get back up into second place. That has been a little bit of an issue as of late with the GT Sports servers. So it wasn't nothing intentional, I'm pretty sure, but in the driver's eyes, that could be something different. And now Yuri has closed rapidly back up to this battle for second place between Swift and T5 Black for position. This has allowed Palmer to really get away in that 24, who started second place, and he's really close getting away from this lead battle. Now once again, T5 Black getting ready to attack on the number 77. Is Swift going to make the move to the inside? He's not going to make the move, but he knows it's futile. He's going to try and defend that position. I'll tell you what, if he could defend that position onto the inside. Oh, and there's a bit of contact right there. And I believe more contact. Swift later on the brakes. But did he take it too much? Did he just take it a bit too much? And is that Viper going wide again? Always fighting it with Cabales for 5th place. Cabales first off a little bit, but what about Splash in the number 11? He's going to be waiting up, but James Head is going to be 3 wide, just nearly. Splash down to 8th place. Oh, and Swift, I'm pretty sure with that. Has he lost a lot of ground? He has lost a lot of ground. So if you're this Sidemax crew, you are... Oh, you're really frustrated right now because you're allowing T5 Black to get away. These Audis not the quickest on this. They're not the sharpest tool in the set, making an all-star reference right there as well. But unfortunately, I think they're gonna have to try and make something work on strategy if they want any chance to close up. But keep in mind, those two, Swift and Yuri, some of the finest drivers you could see out of the Sidemax team, and driving cars that, you know, Yuri is one of the few that can really drive their heart out, and he's carrying that experience over to Swift. These two, of course, I've seen them race competitively for many, many months, and of course, allowing them to team up in the same team, in the same car, with a prestigious team such as SRS Motorsports. And that's exactly what Swift has been hired to do with Yuri, deliver some good results for those for the 55, for the 77 and the 95, and if they can carry those results on over, that would be very much well done. And Viper has gotten the better of Cabales and James Head and Splash, but of course those three I should say, are having a little bit of a battle of their own, where it's going to be Cabales, James Head, and Splash. Of course, I think this is going to be a very hard-fought battle. Oh, and James Head, oh, I thought he was going to take it. Oh, but Splash was a little bit closer behind the number 7 of James Head. So, nothing really working out for Splash at the moment, but just sit back and wait is all I could really say. Is just kind of wait it out for if you are Splash in that number 11 Mercedes. But I say that, they're kind of closing back their way up to the 66 of Viper in that Savage Racing Mercedes. But at the same time, I think he's kind of closing back up to these Audis of 3rd and 4th. But T5 Black, has he been making a little bit of improvements to try and close up to the number 24 of Palmer? I don't think nothing just yet working out. Oh, a little bit of a lag spike right there. I don't think it's nothing too significant. And a fast lap to prove it as well. So T5 Black really on the charge. This is where he likes to make up his lost ground in the race. And I've seen Palmer and T5 Black fight it out, and I think they want to carry their differences from Brands Hatch over to this round, because T5 Black did outpace Palmer to the race win, and Palmer is going to be looking for some mighty results here today. And with just only about 6.5 minutes elapsed, it's going to be extremely close, I should say. Take our eyes back to this battle, and Viper's actually dropped back a little bit from Yuri and Swift, and now he's fallen into the clutches of 6th, 7th, and 8th. So the final spot in the top 5 about to get really heated up here between these 4 cars. Of course, 3 of those cars being front-engine, 1 of those being mid-engine. Oh, and Viper getting really antsy, but Cabales forces up the inside. And James had to have to make it a move a little bit on the outside, but is that going to allow Swift to close right up? Oh, nothing doing just yet between these 2 guys. Look at how much close it is between these 4 cars. You got 2 cars in front and 1 car behind. Viper and Cabales in front, and then you got Splash behind if you're the eyes of James Head. That Porsche doesn't look very feisty in a straight line, but I think in the corners is where it makes up all its lost ground. All these guys on the front straight right now. Now Palmer making the move into turn number 1. Viper onto the inside to defend that position. Cabales still hanging on into 6th place. And keep in mind the tire degradation as well in these courses. These cars cannot like it. Oh, I see that. Cabales is going to remain on the outside, where Viper's going to defend on the inside. How's things going to play out? Cabales a little bit later on the brakes, but I don't think it's going to matter much. Oh, and James, that was a terrific move, taking advantage of that situation. And what a move for James Head that was. Cabales being forced a little wide, and James Head being very opportunistic on the racing situation to get up into 6th place. So Cabales, who's looking to try and get a position, instead loses one at the expense of the number 7. What a move that was for James Head. Oh, is he going to try and force one to the inside? Nothing doing just yet. And this has been exciting racing for the first 9 minutes of this 4th round of the SRS GT3 Series for tier number 1. This is where you get the absolute finest of class of drivers in the GT Sport ranks. Take a rise up to the front of the field for a little bit, where it is still Palmer with just about 1.6 second lead at the moment, and is somewhat being closed down by the number 79 of T5 Black. And then you got the 2 Audis who are still leading it off with Swift and Yere for 3rd and 4th. I think those 2 are just really trying to work with each other to make something work out here at the moment. Oh, and Cabales has gotten some damage. What has happened to Cabales? Was he hit wide by Splash is the big question. Oh, there was a lot that happened right there. There was a lot that happened right there. So what happened between... Oh, Cabales. Oh, and the domino effect. The domino effect. So Viper and James really closed, trying to make the corner too wide, and I think Cabales just underestimated how much speed he was carrying, and then Splash, as a result, pretty much had nowhere to go, but instead into the back of the number 46. But Cabales was doing extremely well, trying to fight for that position as well, and hopefully he can make up some lost ground. But this is where that tire degradation, like I said, really plays a part in these race cars. It is a very high degradation course for a lot of these cars. With about 10 minutes only even elapsed, these cars are probably going to make either 2 or even 3 stops. 1 stops is just not going to work with these cars. So with about 10 minutes elapsed on the clock, we're going to give you guys a Tier 2 update, as I normally like to do, to kind of, you know, give a little bit of an action here at the moment. Just a little under 43 minutes to go for Tier 2, where it is Doug Barrow leading it off with Bar 27 in 2nd place, with Quinner and Patrolhead making up the top 4, with Superboy in 5th place. Then you've got Faux Fishadara, then 6th, then BU Tap, then iPads making up the top 8. Sorry about that, my controller just had a bit of an oof. Did one driver leave? I think it was Stusted. Yeah, it was Stusted Luke. And yeah, his game was having issues again. So unfortunately for Luke, not able to even get a good race going. I think it might be something with his PlayStation. I could be wrong. So what I'm going to do for the broadcast at the moment for Tier 2 is just kind of give a half point in the update. And so the battle continues on for the 66 and the number 7, the 66 on the inside, but with the 7 right there. James Head has been making some opportunistic moves, and I think this could be one of them as well, as they're going side by side up towards the entry into Sector 2. Actually, a little past that, but into Sector 2. Viper can have the inside line, but what about James? How is the tires handling? Not even any different. So they're kind of on the same tire level right now, and on the same fuel level, as a matter of fact. So these two just really up there, and Splash, as a matter of fact, has made up some fair progress in that number 6 and number 11, and he's got significantly better tire wear than these guys. And this is going to be insane here at the moment. And I think we're starting to see ourselves a little bit of a battle right now between Palmer and T5 Black. And I believe T5 Black has started to close up on that number 24. So the slipstream, I think, is starting to do a bit of work. But T5 Black going to do as much as he can to try and close up this battle. What's actually the fuel situation between the number 77 and the 95 compared to these two? Yere has way more fuel in the tank than Swift, and I believe that's because of the fact that Yere is trying to use Swift as a tow to get back up into this race. And so that itself is pretty interesting at the moment. Ty saying some big gaps. There are some big gaps in this race, but except 5th through 8th being the showstopper of this. Has Cabales caught back up in this? Yes, he has. And what's happened to James Head? He's been displaced by Splash for 6th place. Are we able to catch that moment on the stream? No, we are not, but I think it might have had something to do with going into turn number 4. I'm fairly certain. So Mercedes back up into 5th and 6th place. Oh, but this battle is going to be extremely saucy, like a medium rare steak sirloin, I'll tell you that much. Sorry to those that are vegetarians that are watching the stream or the after broadcast, I'd say. Oh, and Viper, just got that right rear on the grass. And Palmer actually going to come into the pits. So Palmer going to take a bit of a chance here and make the 3-stop work, as is Swift and Gure. So I think we know what the side max strategy is going to be for all of these guys. James Head going to make the pit early as well. And so I think we're going to start to see who's going to make the 2-stop and who's going to make the 3-stop, I'd say. And you can see right there, Palmer is just going to come out right behind this pack. So he's significantly gained on these guys ahead of him. And so with about, I'd say, 62% of fuel-ish should be the 15-minute mark for these guys. And so now it's left T5 Black kind of in no man's land out in first place. So is he going to try and make the 2-stop work here today, with Viper moving up into second place with Splash and Cabales not that far behind, but he's got Palmer, who will be on fresher rubber. So it will be interesting to see how this does pan on out. I'm pretty sure that is K&K Dot, I'm pretty sure, who has invaded the stream. Vamos para vamos. Referring to Yere. And T5 Black will come into the pits. He will come into the pits with about 43 minutes to go on the clock. And now this battle for the race lead about to ensue with Splash. Oh, 2x2 actually going into the first corner. Holy moly, man. You cannot make this up. Splash now making the move. Gonna make it 2x2. Yes, indeed, 2x2. Just for a brief moment, I'd say, with Splash on the outside. And T5 Black gonna pop out in 5th ahead of Yuri and Swift. But he took way more fuel than those guys behind as well. James Head kind of in no man's land now, but all of a sudden Palmer doing a lot of work. He cannot be held up behind the 66. Is he going to try and force him a bit wide to get that race lead? Oh, he's going to dive it up the inside instead. And actually completely cut the white line and use track limits to its full advantage. Ty saying, haha, respect comms is difficult. I'll tell you what, man, when I first started doing this in that one league, it wasn't easy, but it's like as you get the experience, it kind of just builds onto you, and you get to provide a lot of excitement. You know, a lot of people are going to shame, it's like, you know, there will be people that will shame me, but to those guys that will shame me, go do your own thing. I'm not shaming you. You do your own thing, I won't shame you for it, but let me do my thing and bring the fun and excitement to my friends and to everyone watching the stream, and for those that are on the track right about now. Oh, and splash! Did he have a little look on the inside in turn number 1? These two have not pitted, and I think they're going to try and make their two-stop work. Oh, you can just see how much just this battle for second place is really going. Splash! Oh, going to be really aggressive. And runs down the back bumper. Splash not going to give Viper any bit of room to work with. And this is just insane racing here. These two on absolutely worn tires, gonna try and make the two-stop work, and I'm pretty dang sure they're gonna be pitting at the end of the lap, as is Cabales too. And just absolutely insane tight racing as well. And I believe T5 Black, he's not far off as well. And I think he was hit a bit wide. Was he hit wide? Oh, he was, as a matter of fact. Oh, I'll tell you what, Cabales was just not trying to get in his way just so he can let the number 79 on through. But that's allowed this Audi duo of Yuri and Swift to close right up, and that's what they needed. Just a little luck to come in their favor. And now all of a sudden we got all of these cars just really right up with each other right now. You can just see how worn these tires on the 66 are. He's going to have the right left-hand indicator, and the two Mercedes, the 66 and the 11, are going to pit from second and third. So they're going to try and make this two-stop work, as is Cabales. But what about James? I think he's going to try and make the three-stop work as well. So that's going to be an interesting development as well, going forward into the final 40 minutes of this race. Paul Severa saying, enjoying this four-way fight from work. It's unfortunate that you couldn't race Kanky Dot. We do miss you from the track, but hopefully you will be back in action in your 04 absolutely fuel strat saving mode Porsche 911 GT3 RSR. I don't know how you fuel save and go as long as you can on the stints, man, but you do a lot of hard work in that Porsche, and I absolutely applaud and respect you for all that hard work you do. Hoping to see you on back, buddy. Hoping to see you on the track, buddy. The two-stop could work better than in Brands hats. You lose much more time in the pit lane there. That's kind of the thing I don't usually keep track of in these kind of events. It's just I don't like to keep track of how much time you spend in the pits, but yeah, I think in some capacity it does really make a ginormous difference, and I can see where you're coming from. You gave it absolutely everything that you had in that race, and unfortunately a top 5, I think with a bit of help from Swift in that contact, just kind of sealed the fate right there. But that was an exciting race as well. Ty saying the three-stop strategy is faster. You know, that's kind of the thing. It's like, I could like kind of speculate a little bit, but I'm not going to assume, oh, this strategy is better. That's just kind of how racing works. You just kind of go with a strategy and just kind of hope that the other one just doesn't. That's just kind of what I'm seeing from this field right now. It's kind of a split strategy at the moment, where we have some guys that are doing two stops, where we got Viper, Splash, and Cabales all doing two stops, and then we got James Head, Swift, ERA, T5 Black, and Palmer all making those 3 stops. And I think at the moment it's certainly helping them out pace-wise. Tell you what, I'm gonna have a water by the time that this race reaches the halfway point as well. Oh my goodness. Whew. like I said, commentating, you get used to it, but it's like at some point you're just like, oh, I need some water in this, for God's sakes. And so let's go see where we got some battles ensuing at the moment. We still got this battle for 6th place between the 66 and the 11. Splash, I believe, took a bit more fuel than I'm pretty certain. A little bit of understeer. Oh, can Splash force something out of a mistake? A bit of pressure, a little bit too deep into a corner, or going wide into a corner. Can Splash do anything to get into the mindset of the 66, which is not really working out at the moment? A bit of defensive work now. Oh, hang in the middle of the track. A fastest lap at the moment for Viper with that 31.1. We're kind of seeing how this goes out and about. Let's take a look a little bit up the front of the field now, where Yure's still kind of clawing his way back up. He's not that too far off the number 79 of T5 Black, but he would most certainly like the points if he can get further up the championship. Oh, and was there a bit of contact as well? I think there was a bit of contact, and I believe Splash is going to get that position back, and taking a very wide line there. So was there a fair bit of contact from the number 11? Oh, you know what? He took a bit too deep, and that's a really sportsmanlike thing from Splash to allow the number 66 to get that position back. And that's the sportsmanship you love to see in sim racing. And I wholeheartedly respect Splash, and that's why I really value him as a dedicated sim racer in this community. Polsevera saying the Audi's performance drops down much more with worn tires than other cars, so it wouldn't have worked for them if they did the two-stop. I was kind of realizing I did do a couple laps with the Audi here a little bit, and unfortunately I think in some of the corners through Sector 2, the car just kind of wanted to have the rear end step out on me. I think for my personal sake, it was kind of a bit too much for me to have the car a bit rotate. I'm not sure how Yure and Swift do it. They're gonna have to school me on that a little bit as well. But yeah, I agree with you. The rear, as the tire degradation picks up a little bit, the rear tires the rear becomes much more unstable on those Audi R8s. And unfortunately, it just gets to a point where the cars just become undrivable, and you lose so much pace with the rear worn tires. So a change in the brake bias would work a little bit, but that's kind of what you want when you get the 2 of the 3 mid-engine cars that are all running 3rd through 5th at the moment, with Yuri, Swift, and James, with Audis and Porsche. Turn our eyes up to the front of the field a little bit, where it is still 1.2 seconds to gap. Yuri's doing a very good job at holding on to this gap for 2nd place, keeping T5 Black at an arm's reach. So what we're going to do now is we're going to give you an on-board set of 2 laps with the hands of the number 77 of, actually, you know what? No. We've already done Swift with the Audi. We're going to give that honor this time to James Head, where we're going to get to experience the high-speed nature of Autodrome de Interlagos for 2 laps in the number 7 Porsche of James Head. And so that was 2 laps of the Autodrome de Interlagos circuit with James Head in the number 7 JM Racing Porsche 911 GT3 RSR. That is a bit of a handful to say in one sentence, I should point out as well. So we're coming to the halfway point of this 4th round of the SRS GT3 series for Tier 1. And it is still SMM Palmer still leading the way. And I'm fairly certain that he is near the end of his 2nd stint, and he is bound to pit for another set of tires for another 15-minute stint. Of course, T5 Black 1.8 seconds behind in the 79 Team Simpad Racing Corvette. And of course, he's really trying to do the best that he can to catch up to the leaders. And you can kind of tell that these guys are really using that curving for the final part. And these guys are going to stay out for one more lap, so this is fairly interesting. One person who's not staying out for another lap is going to be the number 77 of Ure, as is his teammate Swift in the 95. And so some 4 fresh Michelin soft compound tires going to go on that car, and number 7 of James coming into the pits as well. Will we have any more takers this time by? No. And that's actually the 2-stoppers going to stay out for a little longer as well. And so Swift and Ure going to go out again for their 3rd stint, and this has allowed T5 Black and Palmer to stay out for another lap. And they've actually come out, Ure has come out just ahead of Viper and Splash, but Swift has come out behind these two. So this is not good for Swift if he's trying to get by these guys for position, because these two are on 10-lap old tires, and they're trying to make the 2-stop work to the best of their ability. So it's going to be interesting to see how this 2-stop strategy works, because they're electing to go 1 stop less, but they will stay out a tad bit longer. So I'm interested to see how this will all play out. And you can just see how quick Swift has really capitalized and caught up to this pack of cars, and he can't stay behind them for much too longer, because this is certainly not going to benefit them as our 2 race leaders, Palmer and T5 Black, come into the pits. We're going to stay on board with Swift for a little bit for this set. Oh, he's really trying to capitalize and push as hard as he can. Of course, the Audi, not the quickest on the straight. You could just see how much speed these 2 Mercedes are getting away from each other. Ure making 2 the first corner, and T5 Black and Palmer coming out. Oh, and Swift going to force the nose a little on the inside. Can he try to make the move? Yes, he will. But was he forced out a bit wide by Splash and Turn? No, he was not. So that's 1 car down. Oh, and I don't think Splash really liked that forceful move on the number 95. We'll see if we can try and get that move again. Let's see if we can try and catch that again as well. Oh, he saw an opportunity. He might have forced it a little bit wide, but I think that's just hard. I think that's just hard-fought racing between the 95 and the number 11. And Swift now trying to make easy work of the number 66 as well. Around the outside, Viper going to still try and hold on to the inside. Was he forced a bit wide by the 66? And Swift still there. And what a move that was for the number 95. And he forces the number 77 to bail. Oh, is that Viper going a bit round? Oh, he's come back on the track. Oh, and that's a big incident for the number 66. Oh, what an unfortunate set of circumstances. Was he forced wide by that number 95 is the big question. Forced out a bit wide. Oh, and a little bit of throttle on the softer stuff, the much looser compound, and I think this might force Viper to come in for a pit stop. Is it? No. He's going to stay out, but Viper, who was doing extremely well in this race after qualifying in I think it was P8, just becomes unraveled again, just becomes unraveled and undone once again. So hopefully he can try and make up some lost time if he can. He's about 20-ish seconds or so off the race leaders, but he's but here's the interesting part. Viper's going to try and make this 2-stop work, so he should close up to these guys that are making the 3 stops. As for the people who are running 2 stops at this rate, Splash and Cabales, they're willing to take a chance, and they might be the guys that are going to be the ones to beat for this final leg of the race. So like I said, it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out as well. And I believe T5 Black has actually gotten by for first. And was that a difference in outlap? A 50.8 outlap for Palmer and a 47 for T5 Black, and I think that's made a monumental difference in how this race outlook is going to play on out. Yuri in no man's land in 3rd place, and Swift has got himself a penalty in that 95. I want to say it was for the contact between himself and Viper, but I could be dastardly wrong, and I've been proven that a couple different times in the past. Just shaping up to see how things will pan on out this late going in the race. And Swift setting some purple sectors now, so does he have something in the tank that we're not seeing in that number 95? Because if he's making this pace up, he's going to have to maintain it if he wants any chance at trying to find up some lost time. He's 9.2 seconds off the race leader T5 Black, and Palmer's trying to do the best that he can to catch close back up as well. So this stage in the race has kind of taken a bit of a breather, but instead now we've got Splash and Cabales who are now going to be trying to fighting it out for 5th place. And this is kind of a situation where these guys need these extra points if they want to try and close up a little bit in the championship. Swift and Yuri are most certainly going to be needing those championship points to close up a little bit, but at the rate right now, Yuri would be falling a little bit more behind the top 2, which is Palmer and T5 Black for the championship. And with the absence of JK, it's not going to help out his cause either. Splash on the inside for turn number 1. Still holds that position dearly strong. Cabales trying to force a mistake out of Splash, whether it be pressuring him a little bit into making a mistake, going deep into a corner, going wide on into a corner, or just having a costly spin, which is what we saw for the 66, unfortunately. And let's see how Viper goes out and about to try and get back in this running for the race. Yes. And so what we'll do now with about 21 minutes to go on the clock is we will get a Tier 2 update and see how that is panning out at the moment as well. Doug Barrow still leading the way over bar 27 for 2nd place, but he's going to have a bit of competition to work with if he wants any chance at trying to get a chance to move up the field a little bit. And Doug Barrow going to make another pit stop, and I believe that's for the 3 stop. So a couple of these guys making the 3 stops work in this race. Oh, and they're actually going to follow Doug Barrow in, so top 3 for Tier 2 going to come in with about 15 minutes to go. So it's Duck Barrel, Bar, and Patrolhead leading the way, with Bo Fishadara in 4th and Quinter in 5th. Superboy, B8, UTAP, and iPez rounding out the grid, and they've got about 14 and a half minutes to go for that running as well. Viper going to come into the pits for his second stop. And what's happened to Palmer? Palmer's glitching down for me, showing that he's an 8. Is that a bit of a timing glitch that we're seeing for the number 24? So that's very interesting. We'll show that he's back up in second place. Okay, now it does. So now all of a sudden, for 1 second, Palmer was in P8 dead last, and now it looks like the thing corrected it, and now it shows that Palmer is in second place now. So the Team Sinbad Racing guys are doing a bit of a good job at the moment to hold on to their position. Splash and Gabales going to be making their way into the pits, and I think this is starting to show that this 2-stop might not be the ideal way to go, but I think is a balancing effect, because we got guys who are going to be making third stops as well, and I'm fairly certain that it's going to balance this entire field on out. And you can see the back end of that Mercedes in the number 11 just very much battered and bruised on up. Splash has gotten himself in a bit of heat, as is Cabales. Look at the front and back ends of that Aston Martin. So we'll go our way back up to the front of the head of the field. Yere and Swift and James Head kind of all in no man's land at the moment, and really the closest battle we have at the moment is between Splash and Cabales for the lead, and T5 Black setting a 30.3. So he's setting the fastest laps of the race, and he needs that to extend his points lead. James Head in the pits a bit early, so that's a bit of an interesting development to see right there. James Head on this 3-stop gonna try and undercut the leaders, and we'll see how that pans on out, but that's an interesting strategy call to have happen right there. That's very interesting. I think he's trying to cover off the guys in 5th and 6th and 7th. So this is an interesting thing to see have happen. And so now James Head popping right back out in front of Cabales, who has made also his final stop. So this is going to set things up for an interesting fight to the finish. And Splash isn't particularly far off as well. Who's that gone off as well? Was that a bit of a lag spike from Yere by any chance? Was he? Who was that? Oh, Palmer. Oh my goodness gracious, that was Palmer with a massive lag spike. And I'm pretty sure he just shot upwards of like 200 miles an hour from that lag spike. So is Palmer having a bit of connectivity issues here in this late going in the race? So like I said, these guys will have one final stop to do, but I believe the Audis are going to make their way into the pits first. So that's going to be a fair bit interesting to see how that pans on out. and Palmer does come into the pits to try and undercut the number 79 for the race lead. And Interlagos is usually one of those courses where it's like you kind of have a very hectic and chaotic first start of the race, and it kind of dies down where everyone's kind of doing their own thing in the second part of the race, and then the final part of the race is where the strategy will really start to show and how all things do pan on out. And you can just see the noticeable gap that we're seeing for a lot of these guys. James and Cabales going at it once again. I think Splash kind of falling back a little bit to try and see how this does pan on out for the final part of the race. Sharon Bomber saying, hello everyone, how's it going? Just kind of getting ready for the final 15-minute dash for the cash. And this is going to be fairly interesting to see how, like I said, this does pan on out. And so Ure and Swift are going to be making their way to the pits. I assume T5 Black going to be part amongst those to make their way to the pits, and indeed he will. So final pit stops coming into play, but this will be interesting to see where Palmer does step out in the middle of this as well. Ure comes into the pits as well. Swift will come into the pits as well. Sheriff Palmer saying, sorry, I missed out most of the race. It is completely okay because this stream will be able to be played back once it's processed and all that stuff, and it will be able to be uploaded to YouTube as well. So that will be a given as well. So you can watch back the race as soon as it is be able to be played back. And so now Swift and Ure making their way out. Ure making his way out, and he's come out in third, not that far off the guys in behind. Swift comes out a little as well. 1 second penalty for Swift, but they're really ahead of the guys in fifth and sixth. I'm sorry. This battle, old Cabal is getting the better of the two, going into the corner. And James Head right there on the back bumper of Cabales. Cabales going to try and shut the door a little bit, but James Head going to be all over the back of these two, of this car, I should say. I'm sorry once again. Man, I'm really botching the commentary right about now. So the gap now between T5 Black and Palmer, 1.6 seconds is the good between the Corvette and the Mercedes. We'll keep our eyes out for that battle as well. But the battle at the moment is between these two at the hands of Cabales and James Head. So this is going to set things up for the final spot on the top 5 in the top. Keep our eyes on the number 7 of James as he trails down, and I think the number 46 of Cabales is starting to pace it up a little bit. So I think he's going to try and get away from one of the men that actually did that 3 stops. That's a very interesting development to occur and see happen. You can just see how much James Head is starting to push a little bit. So it's clearly obvious that the only man who did the 3 stop that's not really benefiting from all this is James Head. But to be fair, he did pit a little bit sooner than a lot of guys did behind. And Kabbalah is just really showing that extra pace and extra grunt that he's got in that Aston Martin. Kabbalah is, can he make 10 minutes work with that full fuel, half a tank of fuel? Everyone is kind of in the same boat as him right about now. Viper is very low on fuel. That's an interesting development to see right there. So Viper might have to make a splash and dash to the finish line, if most likely needed. And T5 Black still setting fastest laps of the race at 30.3. Those are times that we have not seen or heard of in the paddock all weekend long. So T5 Black really showing the pace of the Corvette. And it's going to pay him very dearly in great hands of a championship lead and extend his championship lead over the number 24 of Palmer, who at Cymax are going to be a little bit feeling sour after this race. I can imagine you that right now, because they've got all their cars in the top 4, but not one of them are leading this race. And Palmer did a terrific job at doing the best that he can to try and stay with the number 79 of T5 Black. So I'd say a good points haul for the number 24, 77, and the 95. But there's only one place that they want to be, and they want to be on the top step of the podium. So T5 Black, look at the tire wear differences between Palmer and T5 Black. So T5 Black is really conserving his tires a little bit and being quick at the same time, whereas Palmer, I think he might be pushing just a hair fracture bit too much. And might this be the demise of Palmer late in the going of this race? This field being particularly spread on out, it had a pretty chaotic start to the beginning of this race, and then later in the going just kind of just calmed itself down, and it might be that same way in the remainder of this race. And so what's going on with the Cymax Audi Sport Crew? Get ready, like I said, just really in no man's land. He's just doing his own thing. Haven't had a lot of trouble, but unfortunately I think it's not gone the way that he anticipated. I think the straight line speed deficit of those Audis being the major caveat to their successes today. Of course, 3rd and 4th are no easy slouch in this Tier 1, but I think unfortunately it's just like they were just kind of driven today simply by the fact that their car doesn't have the straight line speed run of most of these front engine muscle cars that rely on a lot of torque. The Audi has its mid-engine platform, and it doesn't provide a lot of torque. It doesn't provide a lot of speed. It does have a powerful engine in the hands of a 5.2 liter V10, but it's just not gone the way that they would have liked it to, and that's been their major caveat all race long. And same thing with Swift as well. Really in no man's land. He's just trying to find a way to close back up to this leading group of cars. And how can this work out for the 95? Not really a whole lot. He's actually going to come into the pits. So is he going to try and go for fastest lap? This is actually a bit of a risky strategy unless he just takes tires, which he does. And is he going to try and go for that fastest lap of a 30.3? Because that is a very, very interesting strategy to have happen right there. And he's trying to, I think, cover off the number 46 of Cabales, which he's right there with him. So I think this has allowed Cabales to get alongside. As a matter of fact, Swift's going to say, no thank you, I will hang on to that 4th place, but just keeping it on the racing surface. But Cabales is going to have a lot of work to do if he wants to fight for that 4th place in points. Cabales, one of the few drivers that actually elected to go on this 2-stop strategy. Swift now being a 4-stop strategy. And I believe he's just done that to cover off the guys behind him as well, because he's got about 3 of them in the hands of Cabales, Jameshead, and Splash. So this is rather interesting to see if Swift can try and get that extra point for the fastest lap. Of course, podium certainly out of the equation. And is that a slow-moving 66 once again? I believe it is. So we'll see what's happened here for the number 66. Oh, just a bit too deep going into the corner. And that's kind of the mistake that you don't want to have happen, unfortunately, right there. And so this is what we come to see right now. Blue flag's actually being shown. Has T5 Black gone up that far? I don't think he has. But that's very interesting of the game to have that happen. But Cabales is really close back up with the number 95. Cabales, what could he do? Is there contact? Not any contact I'm seeing on that number 95 and the 46. I'm fairly certain that Swift is going to try and use the Is that someone that's going off as well? I think it's the number 66, and it is indeed again with massive damage on the front end of that car. And what was the story with it this time right there on the AstroTurf? Overcorrected, and oh, what a big hit for the 66. And again, the day just not going well. Not even the slightest. And was that a big tank slapper from Cabales coming out of the final corner, I'd say. We'll take a look at that as well onto the grass. I thought I saw a lot of wiggle room. It must have been my mind just kind of messing with me. Oh, Swift, you could see just really trying to push and cover off the number 46. I think Swift was trying, like I said, get the fast lap or cover it off, but I think all of a sudden Cabales sees a window of opportunity that we haven't seen all race long. He is a 10th up on his fastest lap, but how far can Swift push? Oh, he's really trying to push, as you can see by going a little bit wide onto the grass. Was that a bit of a tank stopper as well? Viper back into the pits. And so I believe he's just going to try, and oh yeah, with the 2 liters, yeah, he's definitely got to come in for that splash and dash like we had mentioned as well. I think he kind of underfilled a little bit to make ends worse as well. And he is almost a lap down off of the leaders with about a minute and a half to go. Oh, is that Yuri with a big spin? What has happened to Yuri? He's lost a ton of time all of a sudden. Yuri's lost so much time all of a sudden. What's happened to Yuri? Because now all of a sudden he's 20 plus seconds ahead of behind his teammate, and is only 2 ahead of his teammate Swift. So that's a pretty interesting development to see have happen right there. Yuri's done extremely well to remain on this top step, on the 3rd step of the podium, I'd say. Of course, he did get the top step of the podium in that wet race at Spa-Francorchamps. In one of those vehicles that you do not expect to see to shine in the wet, like I said, but Yuri, he don't care. He gonna make it work. He gonna make it work, and you are going to like it as well. And so the conclusion of Tier 2 with Duck Barrow taking the win, Patrol Head and Bar 27 rounding out the podium, with Bo, Fishadara, Superboy, Quinter, B8, UTAP, and iPez rounding out the grid, with Luke having those issues, unfortunately, at the end of the race. We'll turn our eyes back up to the attention with the clock expiring, and T5 Black will come through to win round 4 of the SRS GT3 Series with Palmer in a hard-fought second place. And I did not realize the clock would expire that quickly, so we just kind of had to turn our attentions very abruptly to the front of the field for a brief second, with T5 Black taking round 4 of the season win, with a second win of the season. But coming to the start-finish line, it will be Yurei, winning 1 week ago and only getting as high as 3rd place, with his Cymax comrade Swift getting up into 4th. Copales doing wonders with that 2-stop strategy to make it into 5th place. And then James Head and Splash, who literally pirouetted across the start-finish line, in 7th place. And so we do have one more driver as well to conclude this round of the season. GG's all around, with T5 Black taking his 2nd win of the season. And Viper nearly, he's actually on fastest lap. Is Viper going to try and snag this fastest lap of the race here? That's a really interesting development to see if Viper can get any sort of extra point in this race. If he can snag that extra point, that would be a bit of a sigh of relief as well. Gonna hang to the left of the track, and is it gonna be a fastest lap? No. 5/10 off. Oh, and it's just super frustrating to see. But T5 Black will win round number 4 at the Autodrome de Interlagos Carlet Pache. I hope I said all that correctly. That's a mouthful. Pole position, fastest laps, and a clean race. What a day for the Team Simpat Racing crew and T5 Black to get that race win. And so we will invite our fellow podium comrades into the party. Oh, not what I expected. And there we go. So we will invite those that did extremely well here today into the party for some after race interviews. Invite, there we go. Just want to make sure I got all of the correct ones. So we'll invite those that did extremely well. 2 Cymax crew on the podium, but of course all of their cars in the top 4, which is exactly what they strive to have. They would have been better had they got on that top step of the podium from the. And then let's just kind of recap the race here a little bit. We had those chaotic battles at the start of the race. T5 Black getting jumped at the line by the 24, and the 24 had a very good first set of stints, and I think unfortunately it just kind of unwound later in the going, which really set up T5 Black to comfortably maintain that lead while being as quick as he can in that Chevrolet Corvette C7 GT3R. And like I said, it just kind of unraveled and it really came undone for the 24, and that's where the 79 will get that race win. Yuri, our man who got first in round 3 with the 90-minute wet race at the Circuit Spa Francorchamps in the number 24 Audi. So we're getting our podium finishers to come into the party, and we're getting the 1st and 2nd place drivers, and there is our 3rd place driver. We'll start off with the man in 3rd place. Yuri, that was a bit of a tough one for you today with the lack of straight line speed in the Audi RA, but you pulled through and got yourself a 3rd place finish with Swift in 4th place. Tell us about your race at the Audi Sport Team Cymax camp today.
To be honest, I'm happy with my race because I think I had a good pace. I was doing 30.7, 30.8 each lap, which is a good pace for me. But Palmer and Black were very fast. I was not able to catch them. But anyway, I'm happy because I think I did a good race, so with a good pace.
And was the 3-stop the viable strategy option? Of course, one of the fellow drivers did say the 2-stop was kind of on the cards, as we did see with some drivers, but was the 2-stop kind of not a viable option for the Audis, and was pretty much 3-stop the way to go here for you guys at Interlagos?
Yeah, at least for the Audi, it was better the 3-stop because the tire wear here is important, and the tires of the Audi die very fast, so it was better to do 3 stops. It was faster.
I saw at the end of the race that you were kind of like 4 to 5 seconds behind Palmer, and then all of a sudden you dropped back to like 20 seconds. I was kind of wondering what happened at the end of that race. Could you?
Yeah, I had an issue because my TV turned it off. I don't know why.
Oh.
and I couldn't see anything, and I was like, oh fuck. But yeah. At least I had a gap behind me, so.
I had another league racer last night in a Blue Moon Bay league race last night that had the TV turned off on them as well, and they crashed. So, and they somehow still got P3. So let the Lady Luck transition from that race over to you. She still get 3rd place in that race as well. So a good day for year 8 in the 77 Cymax Motorworks Audi R8. We'll turn our attention now to SM Palmer in the 2nd place Mercedes AMG GT3. And Palmer, that must have been a tough one for you to kind of finish the 2nd place, and that's probably a tough pill for you to swallow, as you were doing extremely well to lead the race early on, and I think it just kind of T5 Black pretty much was the quicker man to pace out today. Tell us about your race today, Palmer.
Yeah, to be honest, I mean, Interlagos is one of my favourite tracks to drive, so I knew I was going to do well. Yeah, like you said, T5 Black was just way too fast. Well, not way too fast, but just fast enough to be out of reach. Of course, I think in the 2nd stop I overfueled, of course, as well as the last stop, so that sort of compromised me. But I feel like even if I came out ahead, it would have to be like a very hard defense. But I don't think I will probably be able to keep the lead. Of course, you know, I would have loved to have my first win, but of course it's another 2nd, which, you know, is good. But of course it means T5 Black extends his championship lead. Yeah, to be honest, it was quite a quiet race. Of course, I had to get past was Cabales, Splash, and Viper in the 2nd, in the 2nd stint as I came out of the pits. So I guess that was sort of fun. And I didn't lose too much time there, but like, to be honest, I am quite happy with my performance, but of course it's quite I'm quite gutted that I couldn't get the win today.
So another good points finish is you keep your podium streak going with another 2nd place finish here today at the Autodrome, the Interlagos circuit. And we'll finally turn our attention to the man, our pole position man, converting that pole to a race win. T5 Black, you were pretty much the unstoppable man today on the track out there today. Tell us about your race today, T5 Black.
It was a good race. I like Interlagos. My plan for the race was to stop her, but I kind of redo that. So I think to be fast, twist up is the fastest way to go. Even if the tire wear is good.
And so, of course, the 3-stop, I assume, for you was the way to go with the Corvette. You were kind of pretty much vying it out for position with Palmer, even though you two were kind of like 2-3 seconds apart. It was still very heated, I can imagine, in the cockpit of that Corvette. And you were just kind of giving it everything you got to maintain that gap and just finish the race as soon as the clock expired, with 4 seconds added to the overall clock, and you get yourself the race win. How do you feel about that?
Yeah. Yeah, it was great. My 2nd win this season, and yeah, I'm happy. I had a good pace, and yeah, I don't really know what to say. I just keep my head down and just drive.
And so the 2nd win of the season for T5 Black in the Chevy Corvette for the team Simpat Racing Crew. But ladies and gentlemen, if you did enjoy that race, leave a like, leave a comment, and if you want to support us in seeing the rest of our season, round number 5, I believe is at, if someone can correct me real quickly, at
Suzuka.
At Suzuka. Oh, now that's going to be a fun race, I can tell you that much right now. But like I said, ladies and gentlemen, if you do want to follow us for the remainder of the season, please leave a like, leave a comment, and please, if you want to, subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Congratulations to Ray Palmer and T5 Black for making the podium. Congratulations to all of our finishers to finish the race, and congratulations to Pierre Gasly for winning the Italian Grand Prix today. What a drive that was, and he is going to be an absolute madman. And I bet AlphaTauri are celebrating tonight. Pierre Gasly, Carlos Sainz, and Lance Stroll, you guys are legends for a pretty young podium, I'd say, but Pierre Gasly, you absolute legend. But ladies and gentlemen, I'll quit ranting. I've been SD_RDZ, and we'll see you guys next week for round 5 of the SRS GT3 series at Suzuka.